this new section of the course talking about data and information. We're going to talk about data cleansing, aggregation, charting, graphing, things like that. Data is so important now, given the times we're in. Data is so important in terms of analyzing literally this coronavirus that we are in the midst of, where drug companies are using the DNA sequences of the virus to then model drugs that can actually work against this thing. So data is super important. And this is going to be a little introduction to it. If you've ever used Excel before, that's great. We will be doing some very basic things in Excel this semester, including formatting of data. We'll be doing Excel filters and some graphics. So if you've used it, great. If you haven't, then what I want you to do by next week is to make sure you can download Excel either to your local device or find a place that you'll be able to use it, whether you have it on a home computer or some other computer, so that you're going to be doing some assignments on that going forward. So make sure by next week you've got a copy of it, or at least an access to copy of it, and then are getting a little bit familiar with how to do some things in it. I'll be doing some demonstrations in this lecture video too, which we'll be doing next. So what are we doing this week? Well, this week we're going to get into the beginning of our data section. We're going to be talking a little bit about Moore's Law. So I'd like you to watch that video and get comfortable with the concept of Moore's Law. Moore's Law was created by a gentleman by the name of Gordon Moore, who was a co-founder of Intel Corporation. And Moore's Law is really still around today, and the concept is very relevant today as it was back then, in terms of how quickly technology advances and the cost comes down, et cetera. We see how fast companies were able to innovate and create new products, new electronic devices, and new computing products. So it's a really good concept. If you haven't heard about it before, it's really good to know about. And then we'll get into this article in the third wave. It's a Forbes, I believe, or Forbes or Barron's article on how data is becoming the next wave of technology. Then I want you to take a look at this downloading and installing Excel. It shows you how to actually get at Microsoft Excel from the university. There's a way to actually download it locally if you haven't done that already. Make sure you check this out and learn how to do that. Get that installed for next week. We'll talk a little bit about the information hierarchy, the hierarchy of data and information that we'll talk about. And then I will have an Excel demonstration file where I'll do some things in Excel. And then I'll, during the lecture, there's video number 2. And then from there, I've also uploaded the edited. So the raw data files, this Excel demonstration file, and then the edits that I do to it during the lecture period will be saved in this edited in class file, which you can download that as well. And you can kind of see how I went through some of the things that I did in order to get that to work. So that's pretty much for the intro to Excel. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in video lecture 2. And then I included 3 very relevant video articles, or they're actually web articles about data science and how important data science is now in terms of fighting the existing coronavirus. As I mentioned, companies are using it to sequence the DNA and then understanding the DNA of the virus, and then how to best fight it given the drugs that we've got in place, or developing new ones where appropriate. And then it talks in general about every industry needing data. Data is in some cases, we've talked about data being the sole asset of a lot of companies, especially in the social media space, where data is probably going to transcend any of the technologies that are currently out there. And then one last on how the data science models are going to predict the spreading of this. Again, and this is specifically talking about the coronavirus, but it will be, in my estimation, probably, I can suspect that going forward that these models will be enhanced. There'll be a lot more attention paid to these models and how models can be used going forward, so that we're not caught kind of off guard, if you will, with this pandemic, and maybe we can have a better prevention method going up front. So with that, we will, this is the end of video lecture 1, and then go into next to video lecture 2, which will then talk about the data types in Excel, and we'll do a little bit of a demonstration.